Hello, and welcome to today's discussion on modern contact center transformation. Thank you so much for attending. I'm Josh from Tealium. I'm joined today with I'm joined by Teresa Garner from AWS and Jamie Van from Slalom. Um, we are going to discuss how businesses can transform their contact center using unified first-party data to deliver exceptional customer experiences while improving efficiency and reducing operational costs. Um, Teresa, can you give us a little intro and some background on Amazon Connect, please?
Absolutely. So I will start with myself. So Teresa Garner, I am part of the Amazon Connect team, and I lead strategy for our technology integration partners for Amazon Connect. And if you're not familiar with Amazon Connect, we are a cloud native customer experience solution. And so our story starts inside of Amazon, and Connect was really built from the ground up as an omni-channel contact center solution. So one application, unified process, unified automation, unified routing, and unified analytics for every channel across customers of all sizes. So thanks for having us today, Josh.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for joining the conversation. And Jamie, can you also give us a little bit of an intro and some background on Slalom, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Van. I am a director of strategic initiatives at Slalom. I basically lead and manage offering solutions and capabilities of our AWS contact center. For those of you that don't know, Slalom is a business and technology consulting firm. We're mostly in North America. We have global presence. We have service offerings that span transformation, system integration, data, cloud, customer experience, and change management. We love that you can see all of those things come together in the contact center and service transformation. So really exciting space for us. Excited to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining us too. I'm Josh Wolf. I'm Senior Director of Partner Solutions here at Tealium. Tealium is a real-time customer data orchestration platform, and we are software built 100% on AWS, and we enable businesses to collect customer and prospect data, create a unified real-time view of each person, and then we provide the ability to send this data to all the tools that need it through 1,000 plus turnkey integrations, including Amazon Connect. So this allows the business to personalize every customer touch point in a consistent way. And when I work out a solution like this for a particular customer and I see the huge value, what I like to do is really package it up and work together with partners like Slalom and Amazon to get the word out to the market. So that's what we're here for today. We have some amazing software from Amazon and from Tealium, and we have some really smart strategy and experience administering the software from Slalom. And you bring these three teams together, and we can do some amazing things. So we're gonna start the conversation, and we're gonna kind of set the stage initially, and just get everyone's thoughts on the current status of contact centers. So I'll hand this first one over to Teresa and see what you think about the current state of the contact center.
Yeah, what can you say about the current state of the contact center and customer experience in general, other than I think customers are always sort of beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. And so I think one of the most interesting things about contact centers is, and we all experience this, is that customers are increasingly quick to judge, and they are increasingly demanding. So what customers expect is evolving constantly. And one of the most interesting stats that we talk about is that over the last couple of years, customers, the amount of negative or bad interaction that they will tolerate. It used to be they'll have 3.3 bad interactions that they perceive before they will leave or abandon your brand, and now it is 2.4. And so customers are becoming higher expectation, and they're moving away from the business more quickly when their needs are not met. And so I think that it's really interesting when we think about this, because we need to be more responsive, more proactive with customers when we think about challenges and what's happening, and we need to meet them, seamlessly across all channels, whether it's the website, the mobile app, an agent, even a physical location, right? The journey and needs to feel connected and coherent across that customer, or we're increasing the likelihood that they're going to have a negative interaction and abandon the brand. And so I think all the trends that I see and the things that we're talking about really involve around how do we meet those evolving expectations, and create loyalty rather than abandonment from those customers.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. And we're all, I guess, spoiled by interactions with companies like Amazon.com, for example, right? And we kind of expect that experience everywhere. So yeah, Jamie, how about you? What's your thought on sort of the current status of the contact center?
Yeah, totally agree. I think customers are expecting you to know them wherever they are. To them, a company is singular, whether you're on their website or receiving marketing comms, physical, in the contact center. They don't really care about your data silos and your organizational silos. Like, you are them to them, and they want to be singular to you as well. And that means that they want to have relevant experience throughout their entire journey with you, and that shows up in the contact center as well. And it's really frustrating when that doesn't happen. Recently, I had a doctor's appointment, and I had to pre-check in the day before. So I went through my health app, I checked in, I answered all the questions, and then I walk into the doctor's office, and they hand me an iPad, and they're like, "Okay, you got to check in," and they're asking me the exact same questions. Did I travel the last couple of weeks? Do I have symptoms of flu? And then, fine, I don't know where all of this data is going, but it's happening. And I walk into the doctor's office, and the nurse checks me in. And she's in front of her computer, and she's asking me the exact same questions. And so much of that happened in such a short span of time that you're hoping for more connected experiences than that. And I think that, unfortunately, that's an extreme example, but a common one. And I think that's why it's so important to have that unified customer experience, that unified customer profile, and especially in the contact center when people are already approaching that space with an issue in hand, right? So how do we make that experience better and more seamless, and more relevant to the customer?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we all have similar stories we can tell about those sort of frustrations, right? You bought that thing, whatever that thing was, and then the next day you start getting served ads for a discount, and you get frustrated because if you'd only waited to buy it one day, you could have gotten it for a better price. And I think the lack of real-time signals from other channels is the challenge to the contact center, and connecting those two things together in real time and connecting those two things together at scale, right? Because you have these contact centers that are just massive, taking thousands of calls at a moment. So you already sort of talked about the experience that people will have when they interact with the contact center. And I see it as more of a technical challenge, right? So I think even if it was a couple of years ago, we could still get those signals into the contact center. But it was more of sort of a rules-based approach, what I was doing with my partners and my customers back then. And I think when you layer AI on top of it, now it really opens up like a whole new set of capabilities, because the AI can interpret those signals and turn it into a story, right? Whether it's an AI agent or a human being, there's the opportunity for a lot more intelligence behind the personalization when we figure it out the right way, when you're using the right tools. So yeah, I think that's sort of where we're at these days, that there are challenges and frustrations, but so much potential also. So let's move on to the first topic, and that's just creating the unified customer profile itself. And I'll just start here for a moment. Why does first party data matter, right? And why is it so important to have these insights in real time? From my point of view, the contact center is very important, but the challenge is bigger than just the contact center. I'll get pulled in to talk to a business, and maybe I talk to their customer success team, and they're gonna say, we have the view of our customer, it's in our loyalty database. Or I talk to the advertising team, and they say, we have the view of our customer, it's in our attribution software, and so on, right? So you have many tools that need this data, and when you get the unified view centralized and shared out to these tools, each of these tools is going to end up doing better, right? So having a CDP like Tealium, this is going to allow you reduce time to effective analytics, reduce time to AI insights. It's going to allow you to more accurately and quickly trigger marketing and personalization and advertising, right? The picture is bigger than the contact center, and it'll also allow you that personalized contact center experience. So that's really, the argument in favor of a CDP, and the discussion that I've been having for 10 plus years here at Tealium. This is just, more of the same. And yes, each of these tools can collect the data on their own, but that's the siloed data, and that's the inconsistent experience. And you need something to point to that has that single view of the customers. That's where I'm coming from, and really the need for effectively understanding your customers and your prospects, and sharing that data out in an efficient way. So I guess I'll pose the same question to Jamie, and see, Jamie, what do you think about the unified customer profile?
Yeah, you can't underestimate the value of the data here, but executing on this really requires a thoughtful customer and business strategy. How do we build the right experiences for our customer and have the right data and strategy and architecture to support that? So you want to know what experience you want to drive, both from the customer experience and from the agent experience. And then it is a matter of understanding what are the data and the workflows that you need to support that. What's the technical infrastructure that you need to make that happen? What are you using that data for? How will it be leveraged? What is the experience that informs that? And so it's really important to be able to have clarity around that, and to have a really strong strategy around how you want to bring all of those touch points, all of that data together. How do we make sure that we can make it meaningful for the customer service rep who's interacting with those customers at the end of the day? Just mentioned it earlier, but they are incentivized to move really quickly. So how do we make sure that we support them in that, but also continue to offer a meaningful experience to the customer at the same time? So all of that's super important to get aligned before you start to build things and set up the infrastructure for that. Knowing that experience is super important. Knowing that agent experience is super important as well, especially with AI in the mix of everything now. It's are we making sure that it's valuable? Are we making sure that we can measure the effectiveness of that, and to make that better moving forward? It really requires a holistic view of that experience and how it shows up in the contact center.
Yeah, some great points you made there. And I guess, Teresa, what's sort of your view on the unified customer profile, and how it impacts the contact center?
Yes, I think that, and this kind of plays on what Jamie said, but I think of the contact center as the moment of truth for that data unification, right? If a customer is calling into the contact center, especially, it's usually because something went wrong, something escalated, something is urgent. And so it's in that moment, the accuracy and the availability of a unified customer view is so important. And if that data is stale, if it's fragmented, if it's inaccurate, it is immediately visible to the customer, but also to the agent, right? And the agent gets in sort of a panic state, and their ability to address that customer is generally less effective. And I think that that's felt right away. And when I say right away too, when we think about especially telephony and when we're on the phone calling, we're not talking minutes, hours, right? Click through screens and go to my loyalty system in this system. Like, you need it in 10, 15, 20 seconds as the agent to be able to really serve that customer. And so if it's not there in 20, 30 seconds, it might as well not be there at all. And so that, I think, is where the unification really comes into play, versus, hey, we have this data, it lives over here and over here and over here, is can I get to that data, that comprehensive view very quickly to understand the customer, address what's going on with them, and do it with like empathy and attentiveness. And I think that it's really like around this idea of bringing it together is step one, and that's super important. But what matters most in that moment is how it gets activated. How does it provide signals or decision support to the agent, right, in the contact center to support that customer? in the real-time flow of that conversation. And so I think that that's the piece that's really important. It's the proving ground for if your strategy is truly a unified view of the customer that can be utilize signal, provide decision support instantly in the moments that it matters. And so I think it's a really interesting sort of where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, all in the name of happier customers and a better customer experience. But yeah, lots of challenges going on behind the scenes, and if you can pull it off, great things happen. And yeah, you just have to use the right technology and make sure that you've built it out the right way. The next topic we're going to talk about is the architecture itself. So I'm actually going to share my screen right now and talk through something with the audience. This is a multi-step process, and this is based on some integrations that I helped build out between Tealium and Amazon Connect, and sort of referring to some of the other MarTech type integrations that we have here. So we can take this architecture and I'll try and tell a story at the same time to give it some color and really make it resonate with you all. We start off at 1 and we're going to work our way down to 8. So over at 1, this is sort of the starting point after a customer is deployed with Tealium. The business has Tealium running on their website, their app. We're collecting data from different sources. So you have digital interactions, you might have other records, CRM records, things like that. And at step 1, we build out that real-time profile. And let's just say this person is on the website. They're clicking around on the website. Maybe they're looking to buy something. That's a positive signal. Maybe they're looking to cancel something. It's a negative signal. We don't know yet. Based on their behaviors, we may know that because we have that built into Tealium's capabilities. At the same time, on point 2, we could also stream these signals to AI services hosted on the business's AWS instance. And we have a lot of customers that are doing this. They're using those signals to build out propensity scores or a next best recommended marketing action or a product recommendation. And in this case, the propensity scores might say likely to buy, likely to churn, things like that. So knowing whether they are interested in buying something could be based on their actions on the website or based on the AI model score, right? And that's returned back to Tealium and at point 2 and further enriches the profile. So at point 3, that's where we realize this is, in this case, someone who's looking to buy something. And we would proactively send that information into Amazon Connect and perhaps also use that to turn on other marketing channels. We turn on advertising and email and maybe personalize the website at the same time. So data has been distributed within a couple of milliseconds to all these different tools so they have the same view. At point 4, perhaps this person can't finish the purchase process and they give a call in to the contact center, and this business is using Amazon Connect. So as that call goes through, Connect can recognize that phone number, and because we shared a signal that they were interested in buying, Connect can route that person to the best sales rep for them, to the sales queue. Right? So they get routed to the right person. There's less time spent clicking around on keys to get to that sales queue. Save the business time and you save the customer time. At point 5, they start actually talking to that person. And this is where the AI that's built into Connect has taken that signal, turned it into a script for that agent. So the person on the phone talking to the customer is given a little mini script saying, you should probably recommend this product based on the actions they were taking on the website, right? So not only did we route them there and save them time, the call is shorter because you gave them a script, and the call is more effective. They're going to be more likely to buy something because you presented them with a personalized offer. So at that point, let's say they buy that thing, whatever it is. So then we're at point 6, and at point 6, we register the purchase. At point 7, perhaps we feed some of those signals back to the AI platform so you could further refine those models, right? Did you predict that they were going to buy something and they actually bought something? Well, that's good news. Your model's accurate. Did you predict they were going to buy something and they didn't? Well, that's also, useful. It helps you refine your model. So there's that additional connection over there. But also, Amazon Connect has sent us that signal. Amazon Connect has sent us the signal that they purchased something. Perhaps there's also call sentiment. There's also other sort of information in there. When Tealium gets that signal back that they made that purchase, we can also go out and perhaps deactivate some marketing campaigns, save the business money because they're not going to serve ads to someone who just bought something, or maybe change some of those marketing campaigns. Maybe the message goes from a prospect message to a thank you message because you're a new customer. So high level, this is how the architecture works. Again, we've built this out and we've been testing this with some customers, and this is something we can handle at high volumes and for enterprise customers. And if any of you on the webinar are interested, we're happy to talk to you about this with you too. So that was the architecture part of things, and I'm gonna end screen share there. Looks like we're starting to get some questions in there. So yeah, to the audience, as you have some questions, please pop them in, and we'll take a look towards the end and try and answer some of your questions. I don't know, Jamie, Teresa, if you had anything to add on the architecture, you're welcome to make any comments. If not, we're going to move on to the next topic. I'm just pulling up my notes here. So next topic is driving value through strategy and implementation. Right? This is really important. Without the right strategy, you won't know what to do. And without the right implementation, you're going to encounter all sorts of technical issues. So you want to think it out correctly from the very beginning, what's going to give the business the most value. And with Slalom on the line here as our strategy expert, Jamie, what's your thoughts on the best strategy implementation approach?
Yeah, when we implement contact center solutions, we're not just implementing a contact center solution. It's not just a technical tool. The solution, as I had mentioned earlier, it is holistic. It needs to be multidisciplinary because it touches so many elements of the experience that your organization has. So we require a multidisciplinary lens when we're building out our solutions. We bring in experts from org strategy, from change management, experience design, as well as technical experts in AI, data, cloud engineering. When we were looking at the architecture there, all of that is an infrastructure that's really driven by the outcomes that you're trying to drive, right? So how do you want to use that data? How should it flow? How should it show up to the agent? How do we make sure that what we're building makes sense within the workflows and the ways of working and the processes that you have? So we have to think about the people and the process implications of everything as well. When we create new workflows or new experiences, it's super key that we also think about the people using it at the end of the day. Do we have the right training in place? Do we have the right change management in place? Does it make sense for us to show things the way that it's being shown? Is it visible? So we have deep expertise in the technology, but we also prioritize how that shows up across the organization from a more human perspective. It's important that we consider every element of that when we implement these solutions. And then again, not to underestimate the presence of AI and everything, and the reliability that Teresa was mentioning, the accuracy that it needs to have as well. It also needs to kind of fit into the flow of your day as well. It has to be something that's a little bit more built in and integrated in the right way. All of that is driven by the outcome that you want to have, the strategy that you want to have, and the supporting workflows that make that happen. Are we serving the agent the right way so that they can enable the right customer experience? And those are all super key considerations when we're designing what that right solution looks like for you.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, you really have to put a lot of thought into building this out, but building it out in a way that's not going to really interrupt or change people's processes unnecessarily. So that's some good points there. Teresa, how about you? What's your thoughts on strategy and implementation?
Yeah, so many, but I think One of the things that we talk about a lot in the Amazon Connect business is modernization versus migration. And so when we think about strategy and implementation, you can pick up a contact center or customer experience and you can pick it up and move it to a new technology and do the same things in a new environment, maybe do it a little bit faster with more blinking lights. But does that really unlock value? And I think that that's the key thing that Jamie's hitting on is how do you unlock value in visible but also hidden places, and that becomes about more than just the technology. And so when I think about modernization and strategy and implementation, it really is, again, to Jamie's point, getting clear on the experience that you're trying to create and how you use that technology to change how the system and the people behave. So like if we go back to your architecture slide there, Josh, it was every single point one, point two, every single place created a new unique decision tree about what does treatment look like? What does personalization look like for a new customer who's happy and just bought the thing versus a customer who is, reaching out about an escalation or has a propensity to churn, right? Every single one of those is a place where we need to get clear around what the experience to be delivered is and how technology can support that. And so I think that clarity helps, especially in the words of like we throw around words like personalization and agent empowerment, but we don't often define them. And I think that is really key to having a clear strategy is like, what does personalization mean for a new customer versus an existing longtime customer, right? I know this is a silly thing, but one of the things I love is like when I'm upset and I reach out and I'm engaging with an organization, I want them to say my name, right? It is a recognition of relational empathy, et cetera. If I'm calling because I'm buying something new and I'm doing a quick transaction, I don't care, right? When I'm upset, I want a different level of personalization. So I think defining what those things look like for your organization and what decisions or engagement should be made by the system, the technology, the AI versus the human. And so I think that that's the other key part is like when we're talking about humans, as Jamie was, and it's how the technology enables the agents, right? The people that are interacting it, the people who it is intended to serve, right? Are we making their lives easier versus creating new processes unnecessarily? And how do we use AI to assist them and make and allow humans to be the differentiator? Because I think one of the things that we're going to see in the contact center is AI, it will not necessarily replace humans. It will give humans the time and flexibility to do the things that humans do uniquely well. Express empathy, make really nuanced judgments because they're not spending as much time controlling technology. And so I think that Jamie hit on all the points, but it's really around what can you do differently to meet those evolving customer expectations and how can you equip your teams to do that? And then technology is just the delivery mechanism. So it's about getting clear on what the experience is and what these things mean to you and your customers to really unlock the value when you stand it up, but then also over time with a feedback loop.
Yeah, I think those are some great points, and appreciate your point of view there. Going back to something you said, Teresa, was really about defining things and nailing that down, and don't let it sort of be this this vague concept. And I'll even take that a step further. When I'm working with a customer before they buy something, we're trying to figure out what are they going to do during deployment, right? And what use cases are we going to set up first and second and third? And sometimes you'll talk to a business and they'll come to you with 100 use cases. And I think that applies here because you could have 100 journeys through the contact center. And that's great. Like it's a challenge because it's a lot, but that means that they're bought in and they have lots of good ideas. The hard part, I think, is sort of ranking them to what are you going to do first? What are you going to do second? Because if someone comes to me with 100 journeys through the contact center, that's a roadmap for a while, right? You're not going to do everything at first, but what you do is probably rank them by the positive impact to the business, what's going to make them the most money, what's going to save them the most money, what's going to make the customers the happiest, and start with those things first. So that's sort of the first part. And I would invite, the businesses who are listening to this, to think big and to come up with lots of ideas, right? The next part is, once you have it, I always like to work backwards, where you say, okay, well, this is the use case. So what type of profile data do we need on that person? Do we need to know what products that they were looking at? Do we need to know what content they were reading? Do we need to know, did the AI model say they were happy or unhappy? Like, all these sort of things are not going to be needed for every single use case. But then, what you'll do is you look at maybe the first 25 or 50 and find that common set of data that you need, and then work backwards to kind of like, where is that data? Is it coming out of my AI analytics platform? Is it in my CRM system? Is it a behavior on a website or an app? And just map all that out. And then you start the actual deployment of tracking those different events and collecting those different parts of data and working your way back up. So, it can seem like a huge project. It can seem daunting, but that's the way that I like to sort of take a big picture, take a big ambitious goal, and break it down into those little pieces. And I think that when you break it down into little pieces, it seems much more manageable. It's a lot less scary. And I think, personally, if we go to a big contact center customer and we can use, their top 3 journeys and just get those up and running and wired up with some extra signals, I mean, that's probably going to be the majority of the benefit to the company right there, right? If we find the people who are looking to buy something, find the people who are looking to cancel, and help them buy more or help them not cancel, and make those calls shorter, I think that's going to have a huge impact on the business. So yeah, lots to think about, and all topics that we're happy to talk with you about in detail regarding your company. Now is a point where we can maybe ask each other some questions, and then once the audience puts a couple in the queue, we can answer some audience questions. So I guess I have a question for you, Teresa. Where can companies see value the fastest?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that as you were talking, because everything is always sort of Pareto principle, right? There's a million things we can do. What's going to get us 80% of the impact?
Mhm.
And I think it really oftentimes is in nailing the simplest pieces of the journey, right? That front end. Do you know why I'm reaching out, right? Who am I? Do you have that propensity or context signal so that you address it in the right way and you understand my urgency? So I think that nailing that sort of front end, contextual, why are you here? Do I have your history? And then I think the other thing is, do I, knowing what to do with the signal, whether it is an automated agent or a live agent or someone in person, is this customer, if they're churning, do I know what to do with them, right? Do I know how to decide what to execute? If they're high propensity, do I know what to do? Right. So I think that you kind of answered your own question, maybe without knowing it, but I think that where customers see value is by defining those really key and often simple and obvious use cases and getting them really right before moving on and doing sort of the long tail. Is if you can get them good on the front end and you know what you need to know, you can always build on top of that. And so I think that's where customers see the most value, is sort of that like front end context. Can I get it solved? Do you know who I am? And then at those inflection points, propensity to buy or churn, do you have the right signals? Do people know what to do with them?
Excellent. I don't know if either of you have questions for the other or for me. Feel free to jump in and ask a question. I also have a customer success story I can jump into also of one of our other contact center customers. But yeah, just what do you think?
One thing I would be curious to hear from you, Josh, is because I know what I hear from customers a lot, but where do you think customers struggle the most in when it comes to some of these concepts we've talked around, like unified customer profile? Because I think we do hear from customers so often like, oh, I have a 360 view. Mm-hmm. It's in a whole bunch of different places, right? And what is lost or gained from that? So what do you think is the biggest challenge for customers in connecting those dots or sort of seeing the gaps that they have there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do get that sort of response frequently, right? We come in to talk about a customer data platform and the business says we already have one, right? It's our data lake, it's our data warehouse, it's this tool or that tool. The challenge that I see most often is that, especially when it's built by the business, it ends up being a big collection of data that they need to batch load in from lots of different places. They need to ETL it and sort of connect the dots between different data sets and do their own identity resolution to build that complete view of a Jamie versus a Teresa versus a Josh. And what that usually results in is that data being 12, 24, 48 hours old, and difficult to action off of, right? So it might be a little stale, right? You might not know exactly what they were doing a couple of seconds ago on your website or your app. But I think another big challenge is, yes, you have it there. You have it there for analytics. You can build dashboards on it and things like that. But to get that at scale pushed out to tools like the contact center and your ad platform and your email platform and your CRM system all at the same time, that's just a ton of additional work for the IT staff to build and maintain all those integrations. And what I've seen in general is when the IT team does that, it's just another batched process. Pull this file, load it into this system, pull this file, load it into that system. So yes, I think most businesses have it in one form or another, but if it's not real time and it's not easily actionable, then they're missing out. They're spending all that time and money and effort to build that valuable view, but they're just not getting as much out of it as they could otherwise.
So a double click on that is, I think that, like, I absolutely agree with that. And you talked about some of the integrations, right? Making it actionable. I think you all have been doing some cool stuff. Any new integrations with Amazon Connect specifically, right? When we think that you all are building or considering to kind of create that actionable layer.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we just have tested and figured out is the integration directly into the chat. Um, that's a nice one to add into the mix, because you can have someone who's anonymous on the website clicking around, and we can still pass that to the chat agent because it's all on the same web page or app. When you pass something to the contact center for a call, you need an identifier to be able to associate that back to the person. So the chat aspect is nice, and I think it plays into very well this other thing we're building, which is a proactive click to call, where someone can put their phone number in and then they can get a call back. And I know that a lot of contact centers a lot of businesses want to sort of limit or control the amount of people calling in. So with a tool like Tealium, what you can do is proactively choose to send that click to call message to your best targets and not to everyone, right? So you're not going to prompt everyone to call in, only the people who you don't know their phone number already, or the people that are just such great targets that you want them to call in. And other people, you might let them navigate to the phone number and call on their own. And other people, you might even try and intercept them and launch that chat, or load them back, load them to an FAQ page or something like that. So it's this balance of approaches that you can take depending on whether this is someone that you really want to talk to, or someone that, maybe can solve their problem in other ways, or at least try to first and maybe avoid a call to the contact center. So, I think that goes back to the strategy and what the business is looking to do. And we're just sort of giving them all the tools in the toolbox to take, whichever approach or approaches make most sense for the business. Yeah,
Maybe,
I guess.
maybe one final question before you jump into the telco story. We talked a ton about being able to provide that personalized experience with an agent, with a human agent, in the contact center. What are you all hearing from a self-service and call deflection and call avoidance perspective? How is that showing up through the tools and tech that you all have?
Yeah, I think what I'll say is, I think it kind of in line with this conversation is the customer's expectation on what they can self-serve and the degree to which they do that is increasing with a lot of velocity, right? Because customers, and I think Josh just hit on something too, is that I want to be able to self-serve to the same degree, whether I am on chat or SMS or a phone call, right? Those capabilities to serve myself need to be parallel across all of those channels. And if I need to bounce between, you need to carry my context. So I think it's just rising expectations in terms of what can be accomplished through self-service. And I always laugh because it's like self-service in the contact center is one of those things that none of us can escape the consumer experience, right? We are always being compared to the last really good or really bad interaction anybody had, even if it's outside of our domain, has nothing to do, right? That is the new benchmark. And so I think that's really what we're seeing is just like an ever evolving expectations and the need for like ubiquity and self service across channels, no matter where you are in the journey.
Yeah, I think those are some great points. And I think if you can, some behavioral signals from right before reaching out can help point them to the right self-servicing opportunities too. So, just additional personalization, even if they're not necessarily talking to a human being.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's a funny one because I think back to what Jamie said is without that, you're doing what Jamie had to do at the doctor. You're self-servicing and then you're self-servicing again and then
Yeah.
you're self-servicing again,
Yeah.
right? Which is sort of a contradiction. So it's like, how relevant can it be if you don't have those signals in that context?
Yeah.
And I think that's table stakes for customers today.
Truly.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we're almost at time. I'm going to just wrap it up with one quick story, right? This is one of the stories that helped me realize how valuable this sort of solution is right here. So we have a large European telecom provider working on sort of getting this released with their name any day now. But I wanted to maybe steal a little bit of the thunder from my marketing team and tell the story right here, just because I thought it was so impressive. They were running that propensity to buy model on their website visitors. So they had the model built out, and as their visitors were interacting with the website, they would pass those signals to their AI model and return the model score. Each person's profile would have that score associated with them. Some people had a high propensity, some people had a low propensity. If someone then chose to call into their contact center, they were able to route those with the high propensity directly to a sales specialist. So what they saw was by sending that person directly to a sales specialist and sending over some of that additional contextual data, right? What campaign drove them to the website? Did they want, cheaper phones? Did they want cheaper plans? Did they want the deluxe phone? Like all those sort of signals, very important. They were able to see a 57% uplift in sales compared to standard routing. So by getting it to the right person and helping them with their messaging a little bit, they were able to really, really improve the sales KPIs. And the volume of calls that these telecoms get is really high, and you have a great ROI on Tealium because it's potential for a lot of additional sales. So I thought that was a really powerful story. And whether you're in the telecom business or some other business, right, I'm sure you could sort of just take that and apply it to your own business and understand what the potential is for you there too. All right, so yeah, we're pretty much up for time now. I did really want to thank my two co-hosts here, Teresa Garner from AWS and Jamie Van from Slalom. I wanted to really thank you for your participation in an interesting conversation. I know the audience got a lot out of it. I know I got a lot out of it as well. As far as the next steps for you all, right, you could get in touch with us. We'd be happy to do an assessment, give you a product demo, maybe run through an architecture workshop or a use case workshop. Tealium is available on the AWS Marketplace if you're interested in learning more about us there. And we will absolutely follow up with everyone who attended the call with some additional materials. We're going to send you the recording. We're going to send out some attachments and links. So lots of additional materials for you to review or to pass on to your colleagues if you have anything that you're interested in. And again, thank you to the audience too. And appreciate you all for attending the webinar.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thanks all.